Welcome back to the Deep Dig Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew. My other host right here in our new studio.
What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. If you're watching this for the first time, this is a new studio. If you've been following with us and rocking with us, pretty nice, right?
New studio, new drinks. We're drinking Prime now. We're Prime guys.
We're douches. Go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe to this pod. Hit the follow button if you're following on audio. If you're on audio, we are on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, we're on audio. I'm thinking, the way I see it, if the Texans do not take a quarterback at number 2, which we'll talk about it later, they might not. Maybe Trey Lance is a viable option for them, and you offload him on draft day, just like Aaron Rodgers is going to be offloaded, and you get what you can for him at this time, because you did make a substantial investment. Even though it wasn't crazy Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts money, it was still a pretty good chunk of change for Sam Darnold. You've been heavily looking into quarterbacks in this year's draft, and you still have Brock Purdy, who's going to be nursing back to health. I don't know, man. I think it's this. I've never seen this happen before, where it's a quarterback that didn't really get a chance, that is over here making a world tour with, training with Pat Mahomes, training with all these different guys, and you still feel like maybe the team's just going to move off of him. I don't know.
Zach Wilson gave him hell when they were training together.
I could see it happening. He said, "Is that your mom? Where your mom at? Where your mom at?"
Oh, for his mom, Zach Wilson's mom probably thought Trey Lance was an older gentleman by the way his hairline.
See, I'm not gonna. We're not talking about.
I don't want to put that karma on me. I'm sorry. Let me take that back.
No. I'm so ready to go. So I turned 30 next month.
Damn.
Fuck you. You're a piece of shit. Anyways, I'm so ready to go bald. If it happens, it's not happening yet. I need a haircut. My barber's out, but I'm so ready. Like, as soon as it starts to creep, I'm ready to just. I'm ready for it to go. But what do you think about the quarterback, Trey Lance? Is he going to be the day one starter?
I'm 50-50 right now. I was like, all last season, the beginning of last season, I was all in like.
You're Trey Lance guys.
Trey Lance, he's going to be the future. He's going to take over. He's going to put up like 10 rushing touchdowns, like 20 passing, and like be amazing. And now I'm kind of at the point where, like, at the end of the season, I'm a Brock guy. I think he's the future of the team. And I just didn't see enough when Trey Lance was on the field. Yeah, he was hurt. He didn't play much. But I just saw, like, when we went to training camp even, flashes of amazing throws here and there. But it wasn't consistent. It was, like, a mix of interceptions, bad passes, and amazing throws that you would, like, want from your franchise guy. And so now I'm to the point where, like, man, he's going on this world tour of training. Is he, like, going to take the world by storm and put up an amazing, like, 3-game run to start the season and be the guy? Or is he just going to be, like, another quarterback that we missed on and just falls into nothingness, So I really don't know which way it's going to go, but he's taking, like, the right steps, I think, to still be a guy. Like, I give it to him that he's not, like, someone who's complaining about where he's at. He's not someone who is shying away from the situation, like, a la Zach Wilson like, man, I'm not going to put in the work, like, fuck this team. Like, no, he's like, I'm going to go out here and work, and I'm going to work even harder because, like, I think I could still be, like, a franchise guy. So, man, I really want deep down for Trey Lance to be, like, the franchise guy. But the way I saw Brock Purdy run this offense, like, I think he's just, like, who I would pick right now. And I would love for Trey Lance to get traded and for him to be a starter somewhere else.
I would love that.
I would love that I would love for him to become a star quarterback somewhere else and Brock Purdy be a star here, or vice versa. Like, I think both of these guys should get their shine. And I think that's what was leading into our next topic, where 49ers are kind of searching the draft a lot. They're meeting with a lot of quarterbacks. And so do you think this means that Trey Lance could get traded during the draft?
I think if the buzz is real that the Texans are not going to draft a quarterback, that's a quarterback that DeMeco Ryans is, one, very familiar with, and two, it's not Davis Mills anymore. You know what I mean? It's not like you can sell that to a fan base like, hey, we got 1 year of a guy who was very, very talented. He's not this guy who's, we know we're going to lose with him. Let's go ahead and take a flyer on it. And if it doesn't work out, we're in a prime position next year to take another top quarterback. And this is not our guy. We didn't draft this guy. So it's kind of, wash our hands of it and just be done. Or we sign him and he's a backup, a really, really cheap backup for years to come. And maybe he develops later on. You never know. I think that's a very real possibility. Honestly, this offseason has gone pretty crazy as far as quarterbacks. I think everything we expected to happen really didn't come to fruition. I think we were expecting a Tom Brady, to Las Vegas scenario.
I will say, I said since the beginning of last year, DeMeco Ryans will be the Texans head coach.
You did call it.
And I said Jimmy Ward or a linebacker would go with him.
Yeah,
so
you called it.
So some things went as I expected. Just want to throw that out there.
And with that, why would the 49ers be looking into these guys like a la Jake Haener, a la DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who are going to go in that 3rd to 4th round when you have Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, and Brock Purdy? You can't keep all 4 quarterbacks on the roster. If you get a guy that high in the draft, and let's say you do like him, one of those guys has to go.
I mean, let's be real here. The 49ers, if they were going to make a move for, a backup quarterback, a rookie quarterback in this draft, this would be the draft because they're loaded at 3rd-round picks and 4th round. They're loaded in the mid-round picks. So all these guys that are projected to go there that actually look pretty good, they're right there for the picking for them. And I think I'm seeing Tennessee have a lot of meetings with top quarterbacks. So they're definitely in the market for a quarterback. If Trey Lance could get traded to Tennessee, then that leaves the door open for the 49ers to bring in a DTR, a Jake Haener, someone like that in the mid-rounds. Do you think that's a possibility, Trey Lance draft day trade to Tennessee or something like that?
I could see. Honestly, maybe, but I feel the buzz is that the Tennessee Titans are going for a top draft pick. They are going for 3, and now maybe even 2 is in play. Because, the Texans aren't going to take a quarterback. So is that now just trade bait? Are they going to take just best player available? What are the Texans really going to do? And does someone want to leapfrog the number 3 because, hey, 2 is better than 3. We'll have our shot at our guy. So I'm really interested to see how it's going to play out throughout the draft.
Yeah, and all this is because Brock Purdy is injured. And what's the latest news on that? I know he got the cast off, or what's going on?
He has the brace on.
Yeah, he has
right
the
now.
Brace going. That's what it is.
So he has the brace on right now. He did report to involuntary workouts, or involuntary. Show up, motherfucker. Brock Purdy did show up to voluntary OTAs, which is a good sign, obviously. He was quoted. I know he was doing a little bit of press. He actually was quoted as saying, honestly, I'm not really sure if I can play this season. But then the rest of the article went on to say, all the quotes about how he feels good, how he's able to take the brace off at night and do normal motions, as he said, and that he feels like, taking it one day at a time is the best approach for it, and that he feels pretty good. So, you have the bad is hey, I'm not sure if I'm going to play this season, but then you also have the good is hey, I feel good. We're taking this one day at a time. Do you think it's just a thing where he's being a little bit not pessimistic, but not the most optimistic?
I think he's just a very humble guy, and I think this is just he doesn't want to put any narratives out there. He doesn't want to be oh yeah, I'm gonna be back week 4, and then that's really a media circus for him to if you put a timeline on this, a strict timeline, every week that he doesn't come back at the end of that timeline is more and more pressure on the team, more and more pressure on Brock Purdy, and more and more pressure on a Trey Lance or Sam Darnold who's starting. I think the way the 49ers are going to play this and the way Brock Purdy are going to play this, they're going to be vague about everything. And Brock Purdy will be back whenever Brock Purdy's back.
Do you think he's on track for week 4? Or when everyone was doing the calendar math before he had the surgery, people were saying it's going to be at the end of training camp. Which one do you think, if you had to put your money on it, is it end of training camp? Or is it week 4? Is it done for the season? If you had to put money on it.
I have no clue right now. I'd put my money on, like, week 8. Like, I feel like they would want to slowly bring him in, even if he was, say, ready to go week 4. I think it would be like, hey, let's not throw this guy in. Maybe we're 500 right now. Maybe we're 1 win over 500. We don't want to, like, ruin this guy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I really think the 49ers are going to slow play this because I think Kyle does really like Brock Purdy, and he thinks that that's his guy. So I think he's definitely not going to not play next season. That's where I'm putting my money. He's playing next year because just like the amount of time, I don't see how we went from he's projected to possibly be ready week 1 to not playing at all for a full season. Yeah. So I don't see how that timeline jumped so much within this show. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was something that in the surgery where they were like, fuck, like, let's not leak this, but I don't know if he's going to play.
Yeah.
But I find it hard to believe that the timeline was either week 1 to week 4 to not playing at all.
Yeah, and that's the only thing, like, if it does creep into week 6, week 7, week 8, will he get the spot back?
That's up for Trey Lance. And then I was even saying, like, Sam Darnold's young enough. Like, yeah, I'm not saying Sam Darnold's a great quarterback, but Sam Darnold is young enough to where if he shows out and impresses Kyle Shanahan last season was impressed by the last pick in the draft to make that guy their starting quarterback. You don't think Sam Darnold could come in, impress all the coaches, and win them over in order to be like, hey, let's roll with this guy for the rest of the year and then see what happens? Like, if any quarterback impresses Kyle Shanahan right now, they have an opportunity to take over this team. That's any quarterback.
It's wide open. And that's where I'm thinking, like, optimistically for Brock Purdy. I do think Brock Purdy has a really good chance to run this offense very efficiently. We've seen it. He needs to be back week 4 latest. Like, you cannot give these guys these shots to even look good for a 2-game stretch if you're Brock Purdy. Because realistically, what they can do is just shelf you. Hey, you know what? Brock, you're going to be back in week 8. Like, let's just take it slow. Let's just, you are done for the season now. Like, let's just, slow play it. And we're going to roll with the hot hand. We've seen that happen multiple times in multiple places where people will roll with the hot hand. And, hey, if you ain't on the field, you ain't on the field. You know what I mean?
Kaepernick, Alex Smith.
Yeah. So, I think for Brock Purdy's sake, it has to be week 4 the latest, and then he gets his spot back. Anything other than that, and a quarterback is showing out, your spot's at jeopardy.
Well, let us know in the comments. Do you guys think Trey Lance could be traded on draft day? Do you think he's going to be the starter and could maybe win the job? Maybe Sam Darnold plays well and gets day 1 starter?
Do the 49ers draft a quarterback?
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
Pretty crazy.
But we got to move on.